Today I want to get into Jimin feeling like specific actions could lead him to danger. I want to get into a known killer coming after Jimin and what is going on over this. I want to get into some people quitting their agency and leaving. So hey dumplings, it's Dave Decide, hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Grab your dumplings, hey spilling bug merge, and let's go. There's been a lot of changes within K-pop and the agency lately. Every time there is news of an agency either going bankrupt, members leaving, or something terrible happening, it affects the industry as a whole. On the other hand, other labels making changes that are seen as untraditional, but if successful, will soon cause other agencies to do it too. The negative makes people more scared to join newer agencies, and it also furthers this belief that if you want to join an agency and be successful, it has to be a big agency, otherwise there's no point. And we've seen that to be false many times with Big Hit, BTS, and then even the breakout group 50/50. So what happened today and why is this important to note? K-pop group called Apink is a group that has been active since 2011. They have been around for so long and have found mediocre to high success within K-pop and are fairly well known within the genre. The label recently announced that certain members of the group will be leaving the agency and going their own direction. There were a few of them and it was going to be members Changrong, Bami, Namju, and Hayoung. And this is a big chunk of them. The group initially had 7 members. The group is apparently still 7 members, but the members that are actually in the agency are much less. People did find the label's statement to be quite weird, because they announced that the group will not disband, but that the members will work alongside the members that have left to make sure Apink stays together and continues to work on the projects together. Of course, this is typically pretty unheard of and very curious how this will work. The K-pop labels in the past have not been known to collaborate and help each other out as much. Each label is very much aware of how much money they can make from debuting new groups, given the fan culture of idols and how much items they can sell. And then on top of that, bigger labels will sometimes debut hundreds of groups a year and kind of play the numbers game to see which one would take off. And so we see bigger labels like YG and JYP be successful with artists like Blackpink and Stray Kids, but they debuted probably a bunch of other groups before Blackpink and Stray Kids connected with the world, which shows how much competition there exists within this industry. Which, by the way, if you want to watch me react to this, I do a bunch of music videos from different artists on Patreon. I will link that below. We still have a limited $1 tier. I hope to see you there. This all makes the industry very competitive, and to have possibly another label that is working with the Apink members who left to be working with the original labels is very weird. Because it's one thing if the Apink members who left just wanted to leave the industry, but that is not the case. They still want to make music, hence why they will be working with the remaining Apink members. But maybe they are hoping for more promotion and success as an individual artist with a newer label. And sometimes labels, to no fault of their own, simply can't afford to push an artist the way maybe the artist would want to be pushed. And oftentimes, if you know the CEO or people in charge, they are more likely to give you a not so great deal or feel it's okay to not push you as much. I don't know why that's the case, but it is. It happens a lot. I think BTS members are very lucky because they didn't have to leave their agency to do anything, and their label has been able to push BTS members properly with their individual stuff. There was a lot of backlash with every member's promotion. Many people talked about Jin not getting proper promotion before he left to the military, and then others talked about how J-Hope wasn't pushed enough. But media coverage and TV appearances are not everything. Appearing on something like The Tonight Show is great, but in this day and age, all it really does is potentially push the artist to an older audience. So an audience that may be corporate workers or people who just turn on The Tonight Show as something to unwind from. But a lot of these people don't have time or the brain capacity, given their stressful jobs, to even think about maybe looking up the BTS members and finding out more about them. So it just pushes the members to a more casual audience, if that makes sense. And sometimes these appearances are just stressful and they don't make the artist more money. So when I see Hybe or Big Hit getting backlash for not getting a specific member more of these opportunities, I think it's silly. And it's not a requirement for success. Being on these shows doesn't always equal more album sales. In fact, just doing maybe an acoustic cover of the song and then posting it on YouTube has seen somewhat a similar uptick in sales, and it doesn't even add stress to the artists as they don't feel they have to travel, rehearse a lot, and it's done by their own in-house production team. This is also why it's very shocking to ARMYs when BTS members like Jungkook Jungkook delete their Instagram with over 50 million followers, and then people like Jimin are just simply not as active on social media. Now, Jimin can't really talk about it, but he receives so much hate and death threats, which I will get into more later. So personally, this is why I think he limits everyone's access to him, because he just doesn't want to read those things. And yes, the members have their Instagram comments off, but that doesn't mean headlines or Twitter comments don't happen after a photo is posted. Recently, Jimin expressed his fear about Instagram, and he talked about why he is not as active on Instagram and social media. He said that with Instagram, he can't go on it because he's scared that he will hit the wrong thing. And this is an understandable fear, because Instagram may not have the best features for people who don't speak English. I'm sure there's a way to change the language, but if you've ever tried to change the language on your phone, you'll see that not every pop-up or tab or certain things are going to be translated. Like, I don't know for sure, but I have used my phone in another language, and for English apps, the app still had English. I did it not because I didn't know English, but because I wanted to get used to another language. So for a Korean speaker, it can definitely be harder to use American apps. Now, a lot of people kind of think this is a cover-up because Jimin is not as active on social media in general. If the language thing was simply an issue, then he'd be a lot more active on Weverse. Well, he is more active on there, but as I mentioned before, being active on social media means reading the comments and interacting. It's social media. You're supposed to be social. And sometimes you don't want to be social to people who are mentally very much not well. And we can even have cases where it seems like people go way too far in trying to hurt the idols. So much so, I can't even believe this is a real thing that the news has covered and people have talked about. Apparently, there is someone called the KPop killer. This has been an incident a while ago, and this person actually apparently threatens and talks about killing K-pop idols to quote-unquote protect their favorite group, EXO. She apparently has been known to have tried to get rid of a lot of EXO's rivals. She has a list of idols that she has made plans for, idols including BAP's Himchan, TVXQ Yoonho, and many more. Apparently at one point she did write an apology and said that she will no longer be doing any of these things, and a lot of these things were bad. Like, I don't know if she was ever arrested, but she was accused of starting a car accident from an idol and even trying to unsuccessfully poison another member from another group. Now, apparently she has been back recently, and why not? Because the rest of the world seems to be happy and okay with throwing hate, and everyone seems to be so angry nowadays, so why not also add a known K-pop killer into the mix? It's definitely one thing to be a stalker where maybe your own goal is to physically be close to the idol or snap a few pics, which I don't think is right either. But that's a little less harmless when you have someone literally making plans and saying they're going to publicly hurt someone. That's scary. And I can only imagine how the idols themselves could have taken that if they saw all that. Or even that she has had somewhat success getting so close to these idols. People are terrified because she has made death threats and attempted to follow through with them. People were very concerned about Jimin as the members who gets the most threats. People were saying that protect Jimin, but I don't know what's the point of trending this is. There is some point to silently trying to get people to maybe email Hive or Big Hit and then trying to get authorities involved. But the one thing that a lot of K-pop fans don't know how to do is be quiet about something. If there are authorities involved and action made by the label to protect Jimin, it needs to be silently done in order for it to be effective. If the killer is aware that people know and that Jimin and his team knows, then it will probably be easier for her to plan around that. But if she just thinks the idol is unaware, she will attempt and then fail and then go right to jail. I would definitely advise everyone to be a bit more careful going forward. I hope the label looks into this more and adds more protection to all the members. I can only imagine Jimin and many of the other members being quite scared lately. Not only has there been an uptick in these types of threats, but there's been an uptick in mean comments. We've even seen the boys react to these comments in live streams, and they're not happy about it. So they're probably extra on edge lately as they may feel like everyone hates them. And that's not a good feeling in general, but I can only imagine the toll it's taking on their mental health. The members have said over and over again that their greatest fear right now is to be forgotten or lose the love that ARMY had for them. And so they see all these recent comments saying rude things that could possibly hurt them mentally and think, oh wow, I'm losing relevancy and I'm not even gone yet. Or, oh wow, people hate us and we're not even going to be able to come back. So not only K-pop idols, but everyone, just be more careful. Seems like everyone is crazy lately. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Then it's just leave a comment right here. Love you. Bye.